In this video, we are going to look at how to find out the x-intercepts of a quadratic equation in the standard form. The x-intercepts are defined as points where your graph cuts the x-axis, meaning throughout the x-axis, wherever you may walk on the x-axis, you see that your y-coordinate is a 0. Hence, to find out the x-intercept of any equation, whether that be a straight line, quadratic, exponential, or any equation at all, you simply have to put y equals to 0 in that equation and find the values of x.
So let's try to do this and see what happens. Now, generally, I don't really like to have a 0 on the left side, so let's write it on the right hand side because I have an equal sign, which means that the left side is equal to the right side. So it doesn't really matter if I switch the sides. Now, I have a normal quadratic equation in the standard form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. And I have three methods in order to solve this. One being midterm breaking, the second quadratic formula, and the third completing the square. And I am going to choose one of the easiest methods among them, which is going to be midterm breaking. Now, especially for MYP students, since you will not have a handheld calculator with you, you would have to do this working and show how do you actually get your x-intercepts. For the IBDP students or for the Cambridge O and A level students, you can simply plug in the equation in your calculators and get your answers directly. So let's now jump into the working of midterm breaking. Our equation is x squared minus 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. Comparing it with the standard form, I can see that a is equal to 1, b is equal to minus 3, and c is equal to a 2. I know that a multiplied by c is going to be 2. So now I need two numbers that multiply to give me a 2 but add to give me a minus 3. So I start with the lowest two numbers, which are 1 multiplied by 2. And I can actually select these two numbers because I know that minus 1 multiplied by minus 2 actually gives me a plus 2, which I want, and minus 1 plus minus 2, meaning these numbers added gives me a minus 3. So these numbers fulfill both conditions. So now I am going to break the middle term of minus 3 into the two numbers, which are going to be minus 1 and minus 2. So x squared minus x minus 2x plus 2 equals a 0. Now you have to stop at this step and see, do minus x and minus 2x add up back together to give you a minus 3x? If this is actually correct, then you've broken your middle term correctly. But you also have to see that do they actually fulfill the two rules that were stated over here. Now, looking at two terms at a time, the first two and the last two. And now you actually have to spot a common factor in both of these pairs of terms. So what's the common in between the first two terms? It's only going to be x. So what do I have inside the brackets? It's going to be x minus 1. A common between the second two terms will only be minus 2. You cannot skip the minus sign. It has to stay with the 2 outside the bracket, so you cannot change the signs. In this bracket, we are also going to have x minus 1, and then we have equal to 0. You have to stop once again at this step and confirm, do you have the same terms, exactly the same things inside both brackets? Meaning the terms and the sign inside both brackets need to be exactly the same. If you don't, you have to go back and correct any mistakes that you have. Now you have to take the similar bracket outside as a common, which is x minus 1. You put it in a bracket, and what is left? Only x and a minus 2, so you put it in the other bracket, equals to 0. This is where you will apply the null factor law, which states when two things multiply to give you a 0, either one of them or both of them should be equal to a 0, because you cannot get 0 as an answer by the multiplication of two things if one of them or both of them are not equal to 0 to start with. So this is the rule which enables me to get two answers out of a quadratic equation. So put both brackets equal to a 0 individually. So this is x minus 2 equals a 0. In order to find the value of x, you need to isolate it. So I move the minus 1 on the other side. So this is one answer. And the second answer is going to be x equals to a 2. If I need to answer as coordinates, I would put my answer as 1, 0, because for the x-intercepts, the y-coordinate is a 0. And for this one, it's going to be 2, 0. And this is how you find out the x-intercepts using the concept of midterm breaking. Method number 2 for finding the x-intercepts from the equation that we had would be using the quadratic formula. Now the quadratic formula is going to be given to MYP students, especially in their formula booklet, but that does not mean that you don't remember it, as that will slow your speed down in the exam. The quadratic formula is defined as x equals to minus b plus minus a square root, and then you have b square minus 4ac inside the square root, and you divide this complete thing by 2a. And if you are asking yourself what is a, b and c, all of these are numbers that you extracted from your quadratic equation, which looked as x square minus 3x plus 2. And if I look at it, I can clearly see that a equals to 1, b equals to minus 3, and c equals to a 2. So I have to plug all of these numbers in the formula and then hope to get my answer. So minus b would mean minus and then open a bracket and write minus 3. It's very important to write it like this because you do not want to have errors relating to the plus and the minus sign. You open the square root and then a b square, which is a minus 3 square, minus 4a and c, and then divide this complete thing by 2a. Now moving on to the simplification, this is going to be a plus 3 plus minus. What goes inside the square root? Let's try to solve it. So minus 3 square is going to be 9, and the rest is going to be a minus 8 divided by 2. Scrolling down, we have 3 plus minus a square root of 1 divided by 2. Now we all know that the square root of 1 is actually a 1. So let's try to simplify this further. It's going to be 3 plus minus 1 divided by 2. And due to the plus minus sign, I will actually have to make 2 branches because this is an indication that I will have 2 answers. So the first is going to be x equals to 3 plus 1 divided by 2, and the second is going to be x equals to 3 minus 1 divided by 2. If I solve this further, this is going to be x equals to 4 over 2, while this is going to be x equals to 2 over 2. I know that 4 over 2 simply means that x equals to 2, whereas 2 over 2 simply means that x equals to 1. And if I want to write these as coordinates, once again, x equals to 1 would be written as 1, 0, whereas x equals to 2 would be written as 2, 0. And this is how you solve a quadratic equation using the quadratic formula, through which we have found the x-intercepts. Subscribe to the channel and click on the notification icon so you never miss a new video. And do remember to give us a follow on Instagram for more amazing content.